if you clicked this video, you know we're gonna jump and deep dive into one of the UX case studies or a portfolio to be reviewed. But before we do so, it's worth mentioning that this case study was submitted by one of the Discord Design Squad community members. And if you don't know about the community, make sure to check the link down below. And the reason why I want you to join that, because I get so many requests to review portfolios, but ultimately I don't have time. I don't have enough time to go through all of them. I have a backlog of at least 20 portfolios to review, and to be honest, I might get to the last one in the next year. So make sure to join that and make sure to ask for advice, but also to give advice to others. But anyhow, let's jump right into it. I presume this is a conceptual case, if I understand it, basically for a gift delivery app dedicated to solely towards personalizing gift experiences. I'm gonna assess this almost like without knowing what Srimoyi is, you know, her seniority, her goals, just as a UX design case for a brand new product in the market, because there might not be a product like that already, right? And so her role is research and design, timelines February, March. I would just say 2 months. Also research and UX, you could just say user research and UX design. You don't have to split UI UX, you know, it's a given there. Visually it's very appealing, it's easy to read and follow through it, but that visual thing, it's almost like if you can imagine on a spectrum of complexity and simplicity or look and feel, I feel like some bits here, which I'm gonna cover, are missing a point or at least not showing enough depth to me. She might have done the depth already, but might be worth to showcase somewhere, or at least keep in mind, because in the interview you might get, you know, grilled and asked to kind of defend it or showcase the rationale behind it. But first thing what you want to do in a case study for, you know, your conceptual cases is to provide the context, or actually the real world commercial case. You would want to give the business context. I've covered so many case studies already, and the feedback is kind of like a universal case. Every UX project would start with the business goal, be it cost reduction, revenue increase. If it's a brand new development, it's still, you want to infiltrate the market, right? As a business, let's say, or as a UX designer, you join that business, you become part of a business. So you as a collective would want to infiltrate the market or revolutionize, disrupt the market. Maybe that's your goal. That's the underlying business problem which you would want to address, right? And your hypothesis here would be that introducing the new app could help solve this, because customers don't have that type of stuff right now. But then capture it if that is like that. Like, I would want to see a bit more context about the market itself. How big is it? What are we talking? Is it a 2 billion market which is not tapped yet? It's maybe untapped possibility which nobody yet thought about to introduce that app. Just showcase that so it immediately resonates with potential employer, whoever they might be. What Srimoyi is doing is basically describing it, giving some background about the current user experience. It's all about from user side, which is fair enough, but make sure to preface it with a real life context of what the business is dealing with and why do they need to engage with those user. The problem is difficulty in finding appropriate gifts, uncertainty of delivery dates, lack of features to customize the gifts, and then the solution is an application specifically for buying the gifts, personalized experience, calendar to input and keep track of the dates, choosing the gifts beforehand, and so forth. And then you jumped into the competitive analysis. Maybe what I would advise you to do to also outline on super high level what sort of steps, you know, a lot of portfolios do it well, where they showcase the key steps they took from end to end, so I know what to expect, because otherwise you jump immediately into competitive analysis, even if you describe exactly why you did that, to understand the practices of products, existing market, which is great. But then you could showcase some of the bits of that competitive analysis, like where is the market? Is it market globally? Is it, let's say, specifically in, I don't know, UK, Europe, Asia, Americas, you know, you name it. Be specific and also specify exactly what that competition is like, what's there right now. Immediate feedback what I gave to Srimoyi looking at my chat on Discord was, you need to understand the as-is landscape more. Meaning everything to do with the competitive journeys or what the users experience right now. Don't jump to the solutions too quick. I know that you did the interviews and surveys and add a bit more anecdotal evidence, like takeaways from the interviews. Specify also how many of the actual people you had engaged with, so I know the sample size. It's much more precise, it gives tangible outcomes. You then draw out some sort of findings and insights, the themes of the actual bits, which is great. But Did you really understand what we're going through right now? Is it just what they said? Because if this is what they said, then it's only attitudes. The behavioral part might be missing, which is observing them doing what they are supposed to be doing in, let's say, getting gifts, right? Do interviews, ethnographic research, observe people buying gifts as they are right now. Whatever tools they use, capture that, and then make sure that your hypothesis about introducing the new app sticks or doesn't stick. You learn from it, and then you adjust course. It could be that it improves and influence your features or ideas you're gonna generate, or maybe it's not the app anymore. Maybe what you hypothesized actually has to be accompanied by an extensive marketing campaign, which is definitely gonna be that if it's a new app. Maybe it needs something like, I don't know, a service design lens to it. Maybe it's also something like a portal, a platform. Maybe it's not just a mobile app, or some sort of tool for people like partners who bring those gifts, things of that nature. Just considering it much more holistically, outlining the as-is landscape, and then jumping and saying this is what we should be focusing on, instead of keeping on with that app idea you had in the beginning. There is no question here, and that's what you need to definitely question. This is something you can definitely improve on. The next thing is empathy building, which is basically you highlight 3 different personas. I like that you kept it simple, because some personas have way too much information to become actionable. Here, you're describing what mattered to you to apply, right? Like that users who preferred using digital products for delivering gifts, users who would like to use apps, so it's almost like attitudes and behaviors, and then users who avoid using apps. So you kind of cover it on a high level, but I would have questions piling up in the back of my head, even if I would invite you for an interview, let's say for a junior position, right? Definitely gonna ask more about these. Give me more context about it. You can showcase it in a persona sheet if you want to, but just remember that everything which you choose to showcase on a high level has to be covered in the interview. Rationale has to be piled up so you can engage it and give it to the hiring manager. Tell the story about those users and why you chose to do that. How did you drew those 3 different personas from that research you did? That could also matter a lot, because I can guarantee there are more people, right, from your interviews. And if not, then I would question, why do you think that is? It's also something to keep in mind. Just play your own devil's advocate. Try to ask yourself questions of why on every single bit you include in your portfolio. And then you jump immediately into sitemap. And I'm not going to question that, because the information architecture deserves its own lens and look at it. But, this is good enough, let's say. Let's say that user flows are also good enough, paper prototypes, wireframes, the solutioning of the actual UI, the features, and then usability testing we're going to come back to. But the actual ideation piece, whatever method you're going to choose, like how might we's, the future states of it are missing. If you think about it holistically, you're going to line out as is experience, you're going to map out to be experience. You should showcase that. You should also showcase your ideas. How did you prioritize those? Or did you just come up with 5 different ideas and you just made it into features immediately? That should never be a case, because it's not real lifelike. In reality, your research is going to tell you thousands of features to be done. You could have, flying cars for the sake of it, but you kind of go back and see exactly what's the minimum thing you could do right now to actually aid those users and answer the business and give the business the benefit. This is what to me is missing. Ideations, prioritizations. How did you collaborate with other people if you did? If not, if you just did it on your own, how did that look like? What other ideas did you have? How did you choose to trim down the fat so you can actually focus on what matters right here? There should be a process, a very thoughtful and structured approach to your ideas and what you choose to work on next. And then I'm jumping through that because I think UI looks great. I like how we did and structured this. It looks good. And as a hiring manager, as a UX designer, I don't really care much about pixels anymore. That's why I gloss over. But what I see from UI perspective, spot on for UX designer. That's great. Usability testing, moderated usability testing was conducted in person as well as remotely. How many people, who, were they, all those personas you had? These are the questions I'm going to ask you. But then your main takeaways are almost like a personal learning lessons. As you can see, you're saying that research and testing are important, and then you describe why. And then you're saying that even tiniest additions change make a big difference. So you're saying about the feature of a calendar and things of that nature, your perceived addition. But I would want to know your tasks and how did that perform? Who did what was the success rates? Add some measures, so you clearly state if it was a success, if it even resonates, if there's desirability from the user end. If you're introducing a new app which doesn't exist yet, you should probably think very holistically first to see if that innovation is needed. How do your users respond? Are they actually going to pay you money to use it? The adoption of it, and how could you enhance the adoption with all the different ways, like the content strategy, the marketing, informing all those bits is something you need to investigate and capture. It's not just going to be about the features. People are not going to know about your app for months or years to come if it just has awesome features. And testing the usability is great, but think also how to approach that holistic thing, because if you can put more thought to this and adding that extra layer from both business and user perspective, then you assure that the user experience you designed is going to actually stick. And then a future roadmap, you outline in the future what you want to do, so make a two-step process for buyers and sellers and things of that nature, add a chat feature. How about it as a project? Do you think this is actually a challenger in the market? Is there merit to invest in it? All that actual tangible details are going to matter and are going to make it look much more stronger as a case study. Tying it into that story where I said in the beginning to add more context about the actual business needs or what market you enter, how big is that piece of the pie you're targeting. Because if you know that your user testing, let's say, would say, if you add more detail or more effort to it, that it sticks with the users, you can unlock, let's say, 1 billion worth of a market. State that here as an ending to the story. Think about the outcomes itself to the business, to the users, add those in, and then your story is going to be much more fulfilled, because so far it was good development, but you can go a bit deeper in certain areas and then finishing off on like a super strong note. And instead of saying thank you, just add a button saying let's grab a coffee, or do you want to find more, contact me, things of that nature, or I'm available for projects. Other than that, it's a nicely illustrated case study. I hope this is useful for you and everyone else. If you like this video, smash that like button, leave a comment down below, sub to this channel if you haven't done so, make sure to join the Discord community and contribute there and ask for advice there. And on that note, I'll see you next time.